Orbital bombardments in Star Wars were terrifying and incredibly violent. Worlds ravaged by firestorms, cities atomized, the entire surface of planets turned to glass. We'll discuss 3 of the most notable cases of orbital bombardment on today's Star Wars video. Hey guys, this is Justin. Hello and welcome to another video. So, a few days ago we discussed why we don't actually see many orbital bombardments in Star Wars, both from an in-universe and out-of-universe perspective. That being said, they did occur both on a small tactical level and in cases where entire planets were targeted for destruction. In the Imperial era, as you may know, the order to destroy a planet from space was known as a base Delta Zero. Still, while the idea exists in the lore, we don't see it play out very often. However, when we do, base Delta Zeros especially are fairly terrifying. The first example I want to talk about, and really my favorite, is more of a partial base Delta Zero. It comes during the Second Galactic Civil War. We're talking about 40 years after A New Hope, and the targeted planet is Kashyyyk. I find this particular attack so interesting because it is a famous planet, and the interpersonal and interfactional drama is really notched up to 11. Anyway, during the Second Galactic Civil War, Jacen Solo, son of Han and Leia, has fallen to the dark side, assumed the role of Darth Kaitis, and also taken control as Joint Chief of State of the Galactic Alliance, the successor state to the New Republic. Jacen, along with the powerful GA 5th Fleet, moved to Kashyyyk in order to target a group of Jedi who had traveled there earlier. And I gotta give a bit of context over why this is so dramatic. Jacen and his siblings were essentially raised by Chewbacca. In Star Wars Legends at this point, Chewbacca has died during the Yuuzhan Vong War, as did Jacen's brother, Anakin Solo. Jacen is currently sitting in a powerful Star Destroyer named the Anakin Solo after his late brother, pointing turbo lasers at the planet of his dead Wookiee friend. Anyway, Jacen does end up ordering the Anakin Solo to open fire on the planet, with the goal of setting Kashyyyk, which is of course adorned by a planet-wide surface completely ablaze, immolating the planet. The Essential Guide to Warfare has a cool in-universe news interview with one of the gunners of the Anakin Solo. I'll just read portions. My name is Lieutenant Tiers Maladane. I was a gunner on the Anakin Solo, Jacen Solo's Imstar Deuce. We called her Black Annie. I fought at Hapes, Kuat, and then Kashyyyk. Yeah, Kashyyyk. I was a turbo laser gunner. Not the long-range guns, the starboard lateral quad. I knew Kashyyyk would be bad, but I never expected the order I got. Fire into the forests? I had to ask my CO to repeat that, but that's what Solo wanted, and so every battery on the Black Annie that had a firing arc opened up. Through my long-range smoke, I could see smoke, then flames. I'd heard about the Wookiee trees. I'd seen them on hollows. How scientists thought they might be one collective organism. I fired my turbos, I had to. Operations would have seen if I hadn't. And firing at the surface, it wasn't like I could aim high to miss the shot. I couldn't do anything. Some of the Wookiee trees were 50,000 years old. They were a kilometer high before the Republic existed. You shouldn't be able to kill something that's 50,000 years old by squeezing a trigger, but that's what I was doing. The whole time, the tears were running down my face, and when the bogey started coming in, I was relieved. It's crazy to be glad you're under fire, but I was. At least now I was shooting something that could shoot back. Thankfully, several Jedi, including the Wookiee Lobaka and Ben Skywalker, who Jacen was attempting to groom as an apprentice, step in to stop the total destruction of the planet. The next planetary bombardment I want to discuss is probably the most famous within the Star Wars universe, and that is the destruction of Ka'amos. I actually did a full breakdown of the destruction of Ka'amos about 5 years ago. Kind of wild, I've been at this for a while, but we'll do the short version here. The destruction of Ka'amos was a truly despicable act, and one of the first atrocities committed by the Empire. As I'll explain, its historic legacy is one of the main driving forces behind one of my favorite book series, the Thrawn duology. So, the Ka'amosi were an extremely well-loved species. They were passive, empathetic diplomats who valued democracy and peace. So, Palpatine wasn't really a fan. Anyway, shortly after forming the Empire, Palpatine targeted the planet and people for destruction. Ka'amos actually had a very strong planetary shield, however, unknown perpetrators within the planet sabotaged and disabled the shield generators, allowing the Empire to bombard the planet into submission, completely destroying almost all life on the planet, sentient or otherwise. Ka'amos became basically a desolate rock, and the people who generally remained on world were almost wiped out. Not Elagos Akla though. He's really cool. You'll meet him if you read the series and some of the later stuff. Anyway, this was such a despised act that nearly 40 years later, the discovery of Bothan involvement in the disabling of Kalmos's planetary shield nearly started another civil war, with somewhat ironically hundreds of ships in orbit over Bothui in a tense standoff with Imperial operatives trying to disable that planet's shields. The specific Bothans involved were actually named in the Kalmos document, which was discovered and which ended the crisis, moving the responsibility from the Bothan people as a whole to specific individuals. Anyway, the final bombardment I want to discuss is actually a bit of a two-parter. Darth Malik, not a nice guy. No jaw, no chill. He's responsible for at least the bombardment and almost total destruction of 2 planets. First, near the beginning of the Jedi Civil War, we have Telos 4. Under the command of Darth Malik, Saul Kareth, using the Leviathan, bombed without warning nearly the entire surface of Telos, not only killing countless millions, but also rendering the planet nearly uninhabitable. The Republic actually makes an effort after the Jedi Civil War to restore the planet to its former glory, which you can see if you play Knights of the Old Republic 2. Near the end of the Jedi Civil War, and taking place in Knights of the Republic 1, we have the destruction of Terrace. This happens early on in the game. Bastila Shan, a powerful Jedi aboard the Endar Spire, escapes to the planet after the destruction of her ship. Darth Malik eventually gets tired of searching for her and orders a full-scale destruction of the Ecumenopolis below. In what has to be one of the single greatest losses of life in the Star Wars universe, Malik and his fleet systematically destroy inch by inch the entire Terrace world city. This undoubtedly results in the deaths of trillions, if not tens of trillions of individuals. This is honestly one of the more interesting cases for me, especially because you spend so much time in-game before escaping the planet, getting to know all of these citizens on Terrace. You're in the Undercity, trying to help the outcasts travel to the Promised Land, you're in apartments, meeting people down on their luck, infiltrating gangs, settling disputes, and almost all of that is just instantly ended by Darth Malik. The planet completely wiped out. Just a great little moment, and that I think shows how powerful orbital bombardments can be as a storytelling device in Star Wars. Kashyyyk is great for the drama, Kalmos for the political implications, and Terrace really for the spectacle of it all. But that's all for today's topic. Before we leave though, I do have a hashtag Ask Ek, and my baby has decided to join me for this one. Carl asks, in lightsaber fights, if one swordsman attempts an overhead downswing, the other will have to block it by placing their lightsaber across the path. What if they flip off the lightsaber, then swing, flip it back on, and use it for attack? Does this ever happen in any lightsaber fights? The answer is yes. We actually covered this in a prior video. It's called Trakata. The weaknesses and strengths of the technique are discussed in Dark Tide 2 Ruin, where famously we see Corran Horn use it to defeat Yuuzhan Vong Supreme Commander Shadow Shai at the Battle of Ithor. But I'll link to the video I did down in the description. If you've got a question you'd like to see me answer in a future video, leave it in the comments with the hashtag AskEk. That's all I've got. Until next time, be safe, have a good one. May the Force be with you. Bye-bye.